All right, I'm pretty tired, and I got a lot of work to do. I need a environment where there's some peace and quiet. The train going by isn't such a big deal, so much as the constant need for the guy that I'm staying with to have sound going on at all points in time. And I want to say, for probably the 100th time, that doesn't make him a bad person. I see it's his environment and it's his kindness that's allowing me to stay here, and I am grateful for that. I'm going to call up my friend Chelsea. She isn't on very often. Most of these people I'm only able to get a hold of through Facebook, so this rare chance to speak with her. I have been able to get much of the hospital paperwork that will at least show that I'm telling the truth, although there's a lot more that shows that I'm telling the truth that I don't have access to without my own mailbox. Having to depend on other people for their mailboxes hasn't worked out. Those people like Brenda Dickinson, Shannon Alvarado, well, those are difficult situations to have to deal with. Brenda Dickinson's a really nice lady. Her husband, he's nice because his wife makes him be nice. I do love Uncle D and I do love Aunt B. But this is about Chelsea. Calling her now. Hello, Chelsea.
Hi.
Hey, it's Sean.
Yeah. How are you? Well, you already told me how you're doing.
I'm
Where
doing
are
about
you?
the same as you. I'm in Chapel, Nebraska.
Okay, so you're still out there.
Yep. Can't go to Colorado. Can't go to Wyoming. It's a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is.
I'm still trying to take down the
Same
police.
here.
Still trying to take down the police in Colorado, and I added a few more agencies to my list. Still trying to take down CPS as well. The stuff that they're doing nationwide is pretty fucked up. Here to appear for not going to those court dates because I was incarcerated. My public pretenders wouldn't do their jobs across the board, and I'm still having issues with not having the quiet that I need or the resources required in order to be able to defend myself in any of these court situations.
So, where are you staying right now? Are you in a place or?
I'm temporarily in a friend's house. It kind of sucks, actually. I mean, it's not a bad place, and the dude's not a bad dude. It's just with his issues and with my issues, they kind of do clash as far as the noise goes. He has to have constant noise going, or he starts to get stir crazy. And with me, I need peace and quiet and not be stressed out, worried about, like I haven't had my own money since before Natalie died. All of my money it was being eaten up, going to court date after court date after court date for a bunch of people who did illegal shit. They tried saying in court that people wouldn't help me probably because of the way that I act. And the fact is that in most of these cases, it was the fact that people were so far away, and also the fact that police wouldn't take a police report from anybody. And then there's situations like yours, like with your husband's health and all of that kind of stuff. That like, yeah, you're plus you being a mom, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the
Well,
thing.
the world would just settle. Things would just settle down,
Yep,
give me room to breathe.
exactly. That's where I'm at. I'm just glad you got family.
Yeah, yes, I do. We're all in the same house right now. That's,
Yes, ma'am. They tried to pretend that I was schizophrenic.
you've never been diagnosed schizophrenic, though, have you?
Well, they tried to diagnose me schizophrenic after Natalie died so that it made it okay that they wouldn't take a police report. It was a pretty screwed up situation.
Well, yeah, because even if you were schizophrenic, that shouldn't matter.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying too. Like, they tried to use that as an excuse. I'm like, you know what? If you commit a crime against me and I am schizophrenic, that just makes that crime even worse.
Well, exactly.
So lucky for them, I'm not. But then there's the fact that they were trying to illegally have me diagnosed so that it would make what they were doing all right. And that's right there a whole bunch of felonies for a bunch of people. Like you had to deal with that shit in Colorado with them trying to take your kids and fucking bullshit like that.
Yep. That's why I ran from Colorado.
Yep, a lot of people did. I've been in contact with about, I want to say 15 or 20 people in Colorado um, that had their kids taken illegally. I think more than that now, plus the ones that I already knew of, with them trying to sell poor people's kids and shit like that. Like it's pretty fucked up. But
Yep.
you know, I really want to know what it is that I'm getting into, and as far as the tactics that they use and stuff like that go. So I was hoping I might be able to get some info from you on the tactics that they use and shit like that.
You were hoping what?
To get some information from you on the tactics that they were using and all that. There was also, you know, because they're trying to say that I'm schizophrenic. I want to make sure that I'm not. Did I talk to you after Natalie died?
Some, yes.
All right, just making sure I wasn't imagining that.
No, you did talk to me.
I remember calling you when I was at Tabby's house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were trying to say that I was in the land of make believe and making a bunch of shit up. And I'm like, you know, that's the thing is that I know I'm not schizophrenic. Brandon Ratner, he said I'm not schizophrenic. I mean, a lot of people that know me, they're like, yeah, dude, you're not fucking schizophrenic. And a lot of them are like, dude, you're the smartest dude I know, which, there's smarter people than me. And I suppose statistically, not very many. There's only 200 and something people statistically in the United States with my intelligence quotient. So that's pretty high up there.
Well, I've always known that. Although I will say that intelligence levels has nothing to do with schizophrenia.
that's true as well.
Granted, I don't believe you're schizophrenic based on what I do know. So,
Well, they were trying to say that I was some sort of a predator, and I'm like, most of these people that I'm friends with them because at one point in time or another, I fucking rescued their ass. A lot of them,
yep.
I'm sure you've probably been there for a time or two that I rescued somebody.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, and I have my own times that helped me.
Yes, ma'am.
One, I know you're not a predator. Everyone who knows you knows you're not a predator. It's never been your style.
Oh, see, that's the thing is that right after Natalie died, I needed people to come forward about that. I was getting harmed by the general public because of slander, and the police did everything that they could to propagate that slander. And I was, having meltdowns. So I'm like, it's when people grow up in the system like I did, you don't come out of the system without PTSD. That's just straight up how it is. You don't go through sexual assault and physical assault and chemical restraint and being massively overdrugged and not, have PTSD from that. It doesn't happen.
Well, and to be honest, anybody in that situation would probably have meltdowns in an incredibly stressful situation.
Yes, ma'am. The police did everything they could, killed, and tried to tell them what was going on. And that includes when one of the officers, I actually am lucky because I still have his business card. I got a pile of business cards. It's like 2 inches thick, and it's only half of it. But like there's even more cards here and more cards here. I mean, this is just the stuff that's in arm's reach. But I've been slowly going through all of my piles of everything because I mean, so much happened, and I've moved so many times, and a lot of the people that I had to stay with, they're like meth addicts or heroin addicts or alcoholics or things like that. So I mean, it's very volatile situations for somebody who's autistic and somebody who's got PTSD. Like you do need peace and quiet, and listening to people scream at each other is exactly the wrong environment to be in. But the environment that I needed, they made sure that I couldn't get to that environment. They did everything in their power to guarantee that I couldn't, and that has a lot to do with the speaking out that I did against the border police department and the things that they've done with children and the things that they've done to the homeless. And like a lot of people knew that I was involved in the outreach, but they were just too afraid to come forward. Ah, it looks like someone's trying to call me from Wichita, Kansas. I'm going to ignore them for now and I'll call them back.
Okay.
It's obvious it's not important. I don't know very many people from Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, can't say that I do either.
It might be Natalie Bollinger's dad trying to call me from prison. That'd be cute.
Well, hope not.
So, what all kind of stuff were they trying to do when they were trying to take your kids?
So I'm probably not actually a good person to talk to about this because for the most part, they helped me. There was only one person that really just wanted to take my kids for the sake of taking them, and that's Helene Serbo.
I think I've heard that name before.
What?
I said, I think I've heard that name before. Does she work with CPS?
Yeah, she's I think she was a guardian ad litem. Or no, she was just a social worker. But she just, nothing was ever good enough for her. She flat out told me once that she honestly did not believe that any teen parent should be able to keep their children.
So she was.
And again, she was the only one. Everyone else was helpful.
And you still had to flee the state over just that one person.
I still had to what?
I said, but you still had to flee the state over just that one person.
I mean, I had to jump. I definitely had a lot of hoops to jump through, and if it would have been only up to her, I think she would have taken Tristan and Rain. But again, ultimately, like I gained more than I lost from that, and to some extent, I should have not lost him. I should have gotten him back, but they were right to take him in the first place. So,
yes, ma'am.
Like I said, I'm not a great person to talk to about that because I was not doing a good job.
Well, you're honest about that, and that makes you somebody who's worth talking to. I mean, that's important as well. There's also the fact that you're doing a great job now.
Well, trying to.
You know, with your husband's health situation, and you know him having his chest cracked open a couple of times, and he had cancer, right?
Yeah.
As well.
Well, yeah, he had cancer in his chest, so we actually just finished brain surgery a couple months ago and another round of radiation. So he's stage 4 now.
God, that sucks.
It does indeed. He has a hole in his head now. So it's been a whole new set of figuring stuff out for him there.
I've had a bunch of people that have been calling me from all sorts of places to harass me, so it seems like they're starting up on what they did yesterday too. It's probably a bunch of people calling up just to treat me like trash. I've had 3 phone numbers call me already since I started talking to you, so people don't usually call me. But
well, it could also be. I know my phone's been blowing up all day from all of the COVID-19 things.
Do you think it might be that?
I would think it's possible because I know, like the kids' schools, I've gotten 4 calls all to tell me that schools are shut down for the rest of the year, or give me like hotline information or things like that.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
so that's what it is, and not asshole people.
The police not doing their job, in my case at least, was literally preventing me from being able to take care of myself. The amount of people that were assaulting me and the police just literally wouldn't do anything about it. When I tried to turn in the police, they would transfer me to a different jurisdiction. You know, that's a lot of the stuff that I've had to deal with. You know, like I'm not really a sexual creature, so I don't have any kids. Plus, I don't really get women. I mean, not as a sexual or not as a sexist thing. I can't tell if somebody's hitting on me. And then there's the fact that I pretend every woman I know is a lesbian. That way I don't get get the wrong idea if they're not hitting on me, which is a pretty big thing. Of course, that kind of makes me sound crazy too, I guess.
No, it doesn't make you sound crazy. Honestly, that just comes down to open communication and clarity. Most people don't know they're being hit on.
Yep. And all the women that have actually straight up hit on me, women don't do that with me. It's usually underage girls who ended up with crushes on me, and with all of them, they're pretty blunt about it. But I'm also pretty blunt with them about, yeah, you need to get the fuck away from me.
Well, yeah, probably. But with adult women, I mean, really, that's what it comes down to is bluntness. If you're not sure, ask.
Well, the fact that I'm not interested in sex, and I think it's kind of gross, that's part of the reason I just never ask. Although I have had sex twice in my lifetime, and it wasn't terrible. I'm not going to say it was a terrible thing. It just wasn't enjoyable, I guess. It was gross. One of them was
I can relate to that feeling.
Right. One of them was when I was.
It really is gross when you think about
it. And it is too. But last year, I was with a friend of mine, and she was really drunk, and I am completely against having sex with drunk women. And she was telling me, she kept on cuddling up to me and shaking her tail on me. And, I'm thinking grannies and cheese graters, grannies and cheese graters. And she was telling me, I'm going through a divorce, and I'm not really interested in a man. And I'm like, well, the whole thing going through my head at that time was like, I'm not interested in sex. Can we, just not discuss it as if this is a sexual thing? Because I'm not interested. If you were a dog, I'd still be cuddling. And then she reached back and grabbed a hold of me, and the whole thing going through my mind at that point was I was thinking about Lana Engeline, and I was thinking about Jamie Curtis and the times that I didn't have sex with them and how they treated me afterwards. Like, when a woman feels rejected, fucking, she'll get downright evil.
Well, they definitely can. Well, everyone can.
Yeah. And then there was Crystal Beauchamp. She got fucking really evil, and I had to reject her like 3 times.
Well, so if you're not interested in the sexual aspect of intimacy, have you considered that maybe you're asexual?
Does that mean I don't want any?
Generally, for people who are asexual, they just don't have the sexual urges necessarily. And for them, intimacy might be more comfortable through cuddling.
Yes, that is it. I need a dog.
Yeah. Take it on and you need something, baby? You're just coming in to say. Okay. Well, we're going to shift to homeschool, my friend, so don't get too comfortable. How? We're going to shift. They're putting out guidelines and toolkits. So we'll probably start that on Monday. Nope. For 5th graders, it's 90 minutes a day. It's your sister that's going to be mad because she has to do 30 minutes per class.
No disrespect, but you are really sounding like a good mom right now.
Well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't think so right now. Yeah, for 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Well, with most of the people that could have helped me or wanted to help me and stuff like that. I mean, you're just one example of it. Like all of these people that wanted to help me, they all have family problems and family issues and health issues and family health issues and deaths in the family. And the police tried saying that nobody wanted to help me. And I'm like, that's not even close to the fucking case, you know? Like I was having
No,
meltdowns because the cops were doing fucked up shit, and even the people that were trying to help me, the police wouldn't take their reports.
well, unfortunately, we're all little people trying to stand up to very, very big systems.
Yep. And that takes people working together to get that done. And that's what I was trying to explain to people from the start. Like I needed help in person. I still need help in person. Right now, I finally got an autism advocate. Before Natalie died, I had one named Tamara, but after finding out about all the stuff that I'd gone through in my life, and she actually did some research too, by the way. Like she has a son that's autistic, so she, already knew a lot of the stuff that I was talking about and already understood a lot of the concepts I was telling her about. Um, like with the sensory overload and the being bullied because I'm different and all of that kind of stuff. And when I was telling her about the system and about getting dropped off and aging out at 18, she fucking quit her job. She said, I'm going to stay with them until we know that you have your disability. And then she quit. She did make sure I got my disability. She quit before it came through, but she made sure that it was all set up so that it would come through, which was a good thing. But
yeah, really good thing.
Yep. But ever since she quit, like it's been all downhill. She was gonna help me out. She was gonna try to help explain what was going on. She was gonna hopefully help me with the police and try to get this worked out between myself and the Bollingers and get an arbiter. That was her suggestion. She said that what I needed to do is try to get a court arbiter, and that a court arbiter would sit down with me and Natalie. And when we were looking into that, because I thought Natalie was living in Virginia still, and I was living in Nebraska. So the whole getting an arbiter thing, was something that basically, we had to put by the wayside and, try to get that done once I got my disability. But Ken and Leah stole my disability money right before Natalie was killed. And then after Natalie was killed, it was all getting spent going to court date after court date after court date and moving and going to all of these different meetings that they wanted me to go to. And it was just impossible.
Yeah. Are you still receiving your disability?
No, ma'am, we're trying to get it back now. My disability was, well, at first it was all getting spent going to all these court dates, and meanwhile I'm being abused the whole time that I'm going through that. And finally, I had to commit a crime. I literally threatened the President of the United States to try to force the FBI and the Secret Service to take a look. I figured if I threatened the President, and I was very public about it. I mean, I made sure that everybody and their mother knew that I threatened the President. I also lit a fire so that it would make it look like I was very serious about it. And my original plan, because it was kind of a spur of the moment thing, my original plan to try to force the FBI to take a look was to light a fire in Colorado and then come up here to Chapel, Nebraska and light another fire. And I was just really tired, so I stopped at a Love's truck stop and threatened the President from there and made sure that it was on the internet so that somebody else would call it in, because every time I tried to call into the police or talk to the police or whatever, there was always some excuse they couldn't do it. And I'd tried doing it over the internet on multiple occasions, and their websites are fucking impossible to navigate, especially when you're trying to turn in officers. And then when I was sending stuff to them, they're telling me, oh, well, we're not getting it, we can't see it, stuff like that. So I mean, it's a lot of it. Like I'd log on to their websites, and start typing it in, and try to do the drag and drop thing, and it's not letting me drag and drop. Or I type it out, and there's only a certain amount of characters that you're allowed to type in it, and then it stops. And like this story is way too long for 2,500 characters, and I think that's all they allowed on the uh, Americans with Disabilities website. No, not that one. The what's the one, the civil rights one?
Um, I'm not sure.
I'm drawing a blank right now, but I don't get much sleep. But the thing is, like, there's a lot of people that knew me, and nobody would listen to anybody. There's all these people in Boulder, Colorado that I'd helped out, and most of them I couldn't get a hold of. A lot of them didn't know what was going on, and like Natalie, when she disappeared, I tried to help find her, and people were accusing me of killing her and threatening my life and stuff. And then Mandy Singer's son disappeared at the same time, and Shauna Sinclair's daughter disappeared at the same time, and people were getting onto the post that I made about them missing, and like Natalie's family and stuff. And here I am. I'm busy trying to help find Natalie at this point, and they're just busy blaming me for everything in her life. And literally, Natalie was suicidal before I met her, and was cutting on herself before I met her over her family. And then her sister disappeared 3 different times. And when she disappeared, people were getting a hold of me and accusing me of killing her. And she's all right. She was found, you know. But like I've helped find a lot of people, you know, and a lot of folks just aren't understanding that. Like I'm not some POS who's out there chopping people to pieces. And then people are busy, in all of these situations. People are saying, "Oh, well, you were seen with Natalie right before she died," and like I hadn't seen her in over a year by the time she died. And then there was a girl named Selena Not Afraid who disappeared in Montana, and I had made a video about the missing women of Hardin, Montana, like almost a year before Selena disappeared. So then people were trying to pretend like they saw me in Montana, and I'm like, literally, when Selena disappeared, I was in the house that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Can I get you to hold on for just a minute? I'm having a call coming in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I don't know how long her phone call is going to be. Until I have my own place, it's going to be kind of difficult. If I'm able to get my disability back, then. Hey, Chelsea.
Hello, sorry about that.
You're good. There's a train that's about to go by, so you're probably going to hear it making some noise.
Okay, yeah, I can hear it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't honked its horn yet.
It hasn't what yet?
Honked its horn.
Oh.
I try to explain to people about, sensory overload and all that, and they just don't seem to get it. Like, it's not that they're doing bad things, because they're not. It's just that it gets so incredibly loud. Or, like, if two people are talking at once, I can't understand either one of them. Or Like when people rapid fire questions at me, that's a really bad one too. Like they'll ask 5 or 6 questions at once, and even in texting, it's even worse than that because like which one are they going to think that I'm answering to when I do answer? And if you ask me a question, it might take me a minute. You know, there's not like this instant response thing all the time where it's just simply yes or no answer.
Well, with that, I don't know how to handle that kind of situation.
I needed an autism advocate to explain that to the police and to explain that to the courts. But see, that's the thing is that I had already explained it to the police, and they literally went out of their way to exploit that to its fullest. And Miss Peaches had done the same thing. She explained it to them as well. I'm not sure if you knew Miss Peaches,
I'm pretty sure I did.
the Native American Peaches.
Yes.
Yep, that's her. She's mad at me right now because I slandered her name on the internet. She's right, though. It was slander. It's not exactly slander the way that I said it and the way that I explained it and given the situation, but it was definitely slander when the police said it and when the court said it, and that was the point that I was trying to prove. But she's mad at me, won't talk to me, says I'm dead to her. I still love her, though. I understand, that's the thing is that although none of these people understood, I do understand.
Yeah.
But then there's the fact that it's not just me. There's a lot of people at risk, a lot of families at risk, a lot of children at risk, and these predators are still out there. Ted Bollinger is at least going to prison, though. That's a good thing. He got busted with 18 grams of methamphetamines trying to go from Oklahoma to Kansas. Unfortunately,
so trafficking.
Yeah, unfortunately, he had Alicia Bollinger in the vehicle with him, and that was while they were going on that high-speed chase. That was my birthday. I was on a bus from Bristol, Virginia, to Rapid City, South Dakota. As soon as I got off the bus in South Dakota, I got a call from one of Alicia's friends, and he let me know she was missing. I'm like, dude, you do realize that as soon as I posted up that she's missing, people are going to start threatening my life. And I was right. But the other thing is, like, just because she did such screwed up things doesn't mean I don't care about her.
Yeah. Well, once you love somebody, it's hard to just not love them anymore.
That depends on who you are. I can't just stop loving somebody once I love them. But a lot of people apparently can. That doesn't make them bad people, though. They don't feel emotions the same way I do, and they don't have the same motivations that I do. A lot of people are motivated by sexual intimacy, and for me, that's not really being intimate. That's just, I don't know. I always wanted kids, but at the same time, I definitely don't want to bring kids into the world that we live in now. But then the largest cross section of our population is parents, and most of these parents are controlled by fear of what will happen to their children. So it's pretty easy to keep them from grouping together and working together. But at the same time, once they realize that there are so many of them and they're all afraid of the same thing, it's not difficult to band together and change the laws.
Well, unfortunately, our system is really good at quashing any kind of resistance because we're all so overburdened.
Yes, ma'am. but it's also really good money. It's kind of like the prison system. Same thing with the CPS. I mean, it makes them a lot of money. The amount of money that it would take to teach a teenager how to take care of a kid, and also to help that teenage mother to actually get a place and set herself up so that she is able to handle that. It's a lot cheaper to do that than it is to pay a foster family to take care of them. A lot cheaper, but it makes the government a lot more money. Hey, downstairs, bud. Downstairs. Yep, more parenting. Downstairs. Hi to you too. I love kids, I really do, but of course, this isn't exactly the best situation to be talking to them. They want to come see me every time I'm here. They think I'm Operation Jungle Jim. Kids and dogs love me.
Say, you're so good with kids, though. Once they find somebody that's willing to pay attention, that's the end of it.
Yes, ma'am. I know it's always been kids and dogs that love me. Cats are kind of so-so, but I noticed that people who have cats that hate everybody, their cats usually love me. Except for Kinga's cat, Butters. He fucking hates me. He hates everybody, though. He even hates Kinga. And Kinga is like the sweetest lady on earth.
Well, cats are like that sometimes.
Yes, ma'am.
My cats are all overweight, fluffy attention seekers, but
I had a cat named Princess who was, well, she never got much bigger than kitten size. But, she hated everybody but me. I was literally the only human being on the planet that she liked. She was out at a farm after I left chapel. She was out on a farm south of town, and then one day she just disappeared from the farm. I found her. She was behind my old house. She'd been dead for probably a season or two by the time I found her, but I could tell it was Princess.
Oh, I'm sorry that happened with the kitty when we first moved here. She was indoor, outdoor, and we didn't think about the coyotes or some of the other issues, and she disappeared, and we found her body about 3 months later.
Yep.
So now all our cats are prisoners.
Yep. That always makes me feel bad. There was a lady, she used to live in low income across from that house, and they had, I want to say, 5 or 6 cats, and they weren't allowed outside. And there was a big white fluffy one. And one day they went from having piece of crap vehicles to having a brand new Ford Mustang and a brand new Ford F-150 out there. And within the week they had moved out and they left all their cats there. And
oh no.
Yeah, one by one they all got ran over.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, they didn't know nothing about vehicles except how cool they were to watch out the window.
Yeah, I do feel bad for trapping my kitties inside, but I don't want them to get eaten or run over.
Yep. Plus, if you move, you're probably not just going to leave them there.
Oh, no. I've invested far too much in these kitties, even besides the fact that they're feeling living creatures. I've got one kitty that's worth $3,000 for how much money I put into him to keep him alive.
Yep. I put a lot of money into Princess. Princess was pretty self-sufficient. She had a bunch of kittens all at once, and only one of them survived. And because she was so tiny, like all of the kittens that she had, they had their paws like curled in and were permanently disabled as a result of it. So
Oh,
the one that survived, I named him Lord Nelson after Admiral Horatio Nelson from the Battle of Trafalgar and the
okay.
Battle of the Nile. A pretty famous disabled feller. He only had one arm.
Did he make it?
My cat,
Yeah, the kitty.
um, he made it for a while, um, but he only lived about a year and a half, I guess. He had a lot of health
Mm,
problems, though. He wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah, luckily my little $3,000 baby Spartacus did make a full recovery. He's not the brightest bulb. Um, maybe a little brain damaged, but he's definitely the sweetest.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fattest, to be fair. I may spoil him a little bit.
I got a few questions to ask you real quick. When Natalie died, did I ask you for help?
Yes, you did.
And you had legitimate reasons for not being able to, right?
I mean, yes and no. I don't know if there's really any legitimate reason not to help somebody when they ask for it, but I couldn't figure out a way to practically do it.
See, that right there is a good point to make. But you wanted to, right?
Very much so, yes.
Well, that's important. The courts were trying to say that nobody wanted to, probably because of the way that I acted. And the thing is that the only reason I was having a meltdown is because, like, everybody that I knew would either moved away or the people in Colorado were afraid of the cops in Colorado. That's another thing. I don't think that people should be afraid of the cops unless they're actually doing something wrong. I don't think people should be. And I got a lot of friends now that they teach their kids to be afraid of the cops, and rightly so. I just wish it wasn't that way. There are actually a lot of cops out there that would help their kids.
Well, and everything in this world, there's so much good and so much bad, but
Be nice if we had more cops like Ramos.
yeah.
Ramos isn't a cop anymore. He got cancer.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. I got to talk with him a little bit after Natalie was killed. That was pretty important.
Is he going through treatment, or do you know?
Yes, ma'am. Everything that I've heard is secondhand. I actually had heard a few months back that he had been killed, that he had died of cancer. The person who told me said that he died last June or July, but it turned out they were just misinformed. And of course,
Okay.
I care about Ramos, so when I heard that he died, I made a video about him being dead, and then turned out he wasn't. So I made a video about him not being dead. But I lost a lot of friends in the last couple of years. Boulder is, when I was passing out blankets there, they had an average of 11 less deaths per year. So numerically, you look at the years that I passed out blankets versus the years that the years prior when I wasn't there and the years since because I haven't been there, like, yeah, 11 people per year on average I was able to rescue.
which is amazing.
Yes, ma'am. Although the first year I had a lot of help. That first year it was me and Ogre and Sage out there passing out blankets and walking people to warming centers and all of that. So, but Sage he moved back to Chicago, and Ogre he just got sick and tired of escorting drunks because it was mostly drunks that we were rescuing.
Well, there is unfortunately a correlation.
There is. The sober people usually have a lot easier time with figuring out the buses or walking with you. I mean, I'd say probably about 20 to 30% of the people though that we rescued were alcoholics.
Well, unfortunately, when you get to that point, you can't really help yourself. You don't have the capacity for it.
Yep. And that was one of them situations where I lied to people outright. Like the one out on Arapahoe, like it's miles out there. It's like 7 miles away from Pearl Street, and lying to people who are drunk for 2 hours, 3 hours worth of walking every time they want to quit, telling them, well, it's only another 2 blocks. It's only another 2 blocks. It's only another 2 blocks. For 7 miles. But, they're also drunk, so they don't believe you, but then, you eventually get them there anyway.
Well, yeah.
Yep. The one up on CU campus, it was a lot easier because it was a lot closer. And usually, like if people couldn't make it all the way, they'd usually quit right at Denny's. And at least at Denny's, like they had a place to go in and warm up for a little bit.
Yeah. I don't even know if that Denny's is still there.
I don't either. I know that the Starbucks on Broadway or not Broadway and Canyon, University and Broadway, it's gone.
No, well, I didn't know that either.
Yep. And I guess they closed down Old Chicago's too.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And Cheesecake Factory, the last I heard, they were gonna close it down, and that was like I want to say 2 years ago.
Huh. I haven't actually been back to Boulder since Tristan and Cody aren't there anymore.
I didn't know that Cody moved. Last time I saw him was like right after Natalie died. I saw him at the Safeway up there.
Yeah, he moved shortly after that. I want to say about 6 months after Natalie.
Yeah.
But they're in Alabama now, and him and his beautiful girlfriend have a baby together, baby Gavin.
Very nice. My friend Amanda lives in Alabama. She's supposed to come help me in person this summer, but I got court on the 16th of next month, and she's not going to be able to come here until May. I think she said that she was planning on coming to the end of May.
So you might want to double check with the court. I don't know what they're going to do with that because this COVID-19 shutdown is probably going to be for a while, and I don't think people are going to be able to really travel.
Well, that hasn't really hit Chapel, Nebraska yet. A lot of people got the really bad flu here in like November and December. So, like, there's a lot of people that have that going around, but it's not COVID-19. They just have the flu. But because of that, everything here isn't exactly shut down quite the same, but it's still shut down. I mean, they got the Rusty Bucket here, and they're only doing walk-ins for dinner, stuff like that. They're only allowing like 10 people in at a time and things like that.
Oh yeah, you guys are a lot more open. We're restricted to 5 people, straight lockdown. Don't leave your house. Everything's shut down. The only food you can get from not a grocery store, it's delivery. So no dining areas are open at all. Our medical appointments are shut down for 3 months, non-emergent medical appointments.
Yep.
Yeah, all schools closed.
I've been noticing on Facebook, because that's pretty much the only way I have to communicate with a lot of the people who don't have telephones. But I've been noticing as soon as I log on, there's a whole bunch of people on there that are going stir crazy after, some of them have actually been locked in their houses, stuck there for like 10 days. They're like, man, this sucks so bad. Like, I go outside for a walk down the street and I got to maintain my distance. And then I got to turn right back around and go back in because they don't have what I need at the store, or the store is closed or whatever. And I'm like, yep. See, I had to deal with that for an entire year here in Chapel, Nebraska. That was before Natalie died. And then ever since, like most of the places that I go, I'm either straight up stuck outside being harassed by the police and whatnot, and have my stuff stolen a whole bunch, or I'm just basically in somebody's house, like, because most of the places where I've been at people's houses, I got to deal with either inclement weather outside, or I got to deal with, like in Colorado, if I went to somebody's house, I stayed indoors. If I went outside and somebody saw me, they're like, man, I remember you from the news. You're that dude who blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, I'm getting them butterflies in my stomach and worried about them swinging at me and things of that nature. And I'm like, God, if these people only knew who I really am.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you have to deal with that.
Well, you didn't do it. If I'd have had the helping person that I needed, it really would have made all the difference in the world. When it all comes down to it, law enforcement should have done their job before Natalie was killed. And, I understand why Tamara quit her job, but if she hadn't quit her job, we definitely could have dealt with this in a lot different way. Natalie might still be alive. The cops might have done their jobs. But that was, like, she worked with Region 1. She also was working with my therapist, and like, she knew a lot about it. She was there right from the very beginning. And, I mean, that her understanding autism is the only reason that she was able to help me the way she was. She was able to listen a lot better than anybody else I've had to deal with since, until I have an autism advocate now, finally. Um, you basically get two types of people that are in the autism community as far as parents go. You get the parents who are the extremely restrained, you need to restrain your kids, and ADA therapy and all of that kind of stuff. And basically, they don't try to make any effort to look at it from their kids' point of view. And then you get the parents who learn about their children and learn about the disabilities and start to understand it. And when you get one of them who does that, like, it makes all the difference in the world. The only problem is, just like with you and with, probably 100 other people that wanted to help me, it's the fact that they're so far away. They're in a different time zone. They're still in Nebraska, but it's a different time zone.
Oh, I didn't realize Nebraska had multiple time zones.
It does. But she lives in North Platte. It's actually a husband and wife team that are there, and that's basically they have a group there. If I was in North Platte, or I moved to North Platte, then I would be able to utilize that group. and I would be able to possibly get the help that I need in person. But there's also the fact that I need to get my disability money back, and also the fact that I need to be around people that are familiar to me, or I just shut down entirely. Every time I move, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, once you get your disability situated, maybe that's something you could explore. Because I know you wouldn't be, surrounded by familiar people right away. But I don't know. Maybe there's a way to make that transition so it's not as awful for you.
Well, a lot of it, literally all of this stuff that's happened to me since before and after Natalie's death is because of people stealing my money and doing everything in their power after she was dead to prevent me from having access to my money, to keep it being spent in the courts, and to prevent me from having a calm environment. I mean, that's the thing that was killing me before she died, is that the rumors that they started got warped into some even worse rumors, and I couldn't go to Boulder and see even my older brother. Rabbit's not doing so good either. He's all strung out.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's still in Boulder. Last I knew, he was living under a bridge. I actually took pictures of the mess that he's been living in.
Wow.
Last time I saw him was at my grandma's funeral. He was coming down because he didn't bring any of that stuff with him. Who the hell is text messaging me? Oh, yeah, because what happened with Natalie, I got a bunch of wingnuts that like to give my name out to or my number out to a bunch of those, the spam websites. So they give you like 20 or 30 different phone numbers that are calling you and harassing you. And of course, I've also got people's numbers. Like it's a group of people that just have nothing better to do than harass people.
Do you know how to block numbers?
I do. I went through yesterday. They sent me about 60 or 70 messages, text messages, and I went through and marked every one of them as spam. But if you hear the phone vibrating, that's what's going on. They do it every minute on the minute. They do it.
Well,
I guess I've been on the phone with you about an hour.
I'm not even. Yep, about an hour. Almost 5 o'clock, at least my time.
Yep, it's 4:56 here.
Okay, so we're in the same time zone.
Yep.
Well, I suppose I should probably let you go. Probably should feed the munchkins.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna probably try to get some sleep, although I might end up being Operation Jungle Gym again. I don't know.
Well, maybe be Operation Jungle Gym first, and then you'll sleep really good.
Maybe. You be safe, Chelsea. Tell your husband thank you.
Okay.
I'm glad you have him. I'm glad he's part of your life. I'm glad that you love him so much. Obviously, he's well, you're pretty good about picking decent dudes, and if he's the one that you chose to get married to, he must be something spectacular.
Well, he is indeed. He's also an ass, but he's spectacular. But I will let him know, and you be safe too, and try and get some rest. And
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
ever need to call, you can. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Chelsea.
Yes, of course. I'll talk to you at some point.
All right, you two be safe. Love you bunches.
Yeah, you too. Love you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm always glad when other people hang up on me, because me trying to hang up, pressing the button over and over again just doesn't work with the shit. That is not Chelsea Worthing. I'd like to talk to her as well, but life is what it is, ain't it?